Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with a book haul. I will admit that for quite some time I have cut back on book shopping because I have so many books, and I would like to go through what I own and then also things that I'm reading for other outlets, such as discussions on our channel, before I go ahead and purchase even more books. I was probably going to get to a point where the number of books I purchase is going to decrease simply on the basis that I simply need to utilize more of the space that I have for what I own right now and what is to come as well, such as things that I really have my eye on and want to add to the collection. But I went to Asbury Book Cooperative back in March when I was up in Asbury Park for a silent book club meeting. I went up a little early so I did not have to contend with rush hour traffic. And the first thing I did was visit Asbury Book Cooperative, and I was quite impressed with the way that the store was laid out and what they had to offer. I would have gotten a lot more if I had my say, but there are books that are pretty aggressively priced, but that's the way of the world. I happened to get 6 books this time. I'm inclined to go again because I would like to explore that Cookman Avenue area in Asbury Park. But the first 2 books that I got are connected with one another. And they are the last 2 books that Cormac McCarthy wrote. One is Stella Maris, and the other one is The Passenger. And Stella Maris has to do with an Alicia Western, and it's told through transcripts of Alicia's psychiatric sessions. She is a doctoral candidate for mathematics, but she has a very rough background, and she in particular does not want to talk about her brother Bobby. And that's where The Passenger kicks in, and it has to do with Bobby and his service in the Coast Guard. But from what I'm gathering, he had gone missing, and that's why Alicia doesn't want to talk about the events that happened. The events in Stella Maris take place in 1972 in Black River Falls, Wisconsin, whereas the events in The Passenger take place in Pass Christian, Mississippi in 1980. So this is 8 years later. People have said that you should read this first and then Stella Maris. I'd have to do some research as to what order I should read them in. The Passenger seems to have more notoriety, and because it is set later, that Stella Maris is the one to read first. But perhaps there are aspects of the story within The Passenger that suggests that this be read first, because I think that this is the main story of what takes place, whereas Stella Maris is an account of Alicia's response to everything that's going on. But I've really begun to admire Cormac McCarthy. I mean, the fact that he doesn't use quotations is still annoying, but I think that the way that he makes you think and the way that he creates characters and all different kinds is just extraordinary. Next one that I picked up is The Rainbow by Yasunari Kawabata. He wrote Snow Country, Master of Go. This is a family drama responding to events and dealing with life post-World War II. And I wanted to add more of Kawabata's work to my book collection and thought that this was a good opportunity to do so. Then I got a collection of Charles Beaumont's short stories. It's called Perchance to Dream, Selected Stories. And Charles Beaumont is most known for writing a few of the episodes of The Twilight Zone. Perchance to Dream is one of them. He wrote The Howling Man. He wrote A Game of Pool, which is not in this collection, unless it was under another name. But he was the one that wrote A Game of Pool for the show's third season. And that was the first episode that crossed my mind. I knew about Time Enough at Last much longer, but I remember seeing A Game of Pool with Jack Klugman and Jonathan Winters. But Beaumont he's touched upon every aspect of speculative fiction, and I'm really inclined to look through this and dip in and out. I might just read this in its entirety. I think that Ari would really eat this book up with a spoon. The last time I acquired anything from the Best American series was in 2020. I have all the books because I pre-ordered the 2020 collection, but I began getting turned off by the series because I feel that they find ways to incorporate partisan left-wing politics into their collections. I noticed that there were pieces of that sense, and I think that having that aspect is okay, but it feels like that they really drill it in here and there, because you always see things from the New Yorker, which if they're sharing stories is one thing. If they're sharing articles that stuck out having to do with culture is one thing, and especially if it's relevant. But to see them write on a subject such as science, it really, to me, demonstrates that the series has an agenda in mind. However, I did come across the Best American Short Stories of 2023 for a very reasonable price, because I want to say it was white dotted, so I want to say it was $5. And this was edited, the guest editor was Min Jin Lee, who I really admire. I do still need to read her books, but I admire Min Jin Lee from when I met her at the Morristown Festival of Books. But this looks like there's a good collection of short stories from various outlets. The New Yorker is represented. The late Gettysburg Review, which I really hope that they come back. It was a shame that they had to stop producing magazines, because I thought that I liked that they were about releasing solid content as far as short stories and poetry was concerned. Representatives from Ziziva, New England Review, Iowa Review, Kenyon Review, and plenty of others. The Paris Review. And I like the list in the back that they have of all of the American and Canadian magazines that produce short stories. And then finally, I got a horror book from a brand new author. I do want to look into the more currently produced horror fiction, because I'm not as well versed as far as I know that you have writers like Grady Hendrix, whom I acquired a lot of books from. when I went to return the page. Nick Cutter, Stephen Graham Jones. A lot of them that are known more for single works at this moment, or I just might not be as familiar. But I got Maeve Fly by C.J. Leede, which has to do with a woman who dresses up as Elsa in Disneyland in Magic Kingdom during the day, and then she dresses up as some of her favorite morbid literary characters at night, going to different bars and dives. But then she ends up getting into the dark world of becoming a serial killer. Grady Hendrix quotes on the front that this is an apocalyptic Anaheim psycho, which alludes to the fact that she has a day job at Disneyland. And there's a card here in which she signed, "Let's howl and howl together." I'm interested to read this, and I'm very curious to see where she goes as far as her writing is concerned, because I would like to see more contributors with, especially when they have unique ideas to the horror fiction genre. And this came out last year. So this is what I acquired at Asbury Book Cooperative in Asbury Park, New Jersey. I definitely would like to go back. They do have a great deal of community involvement. They have book club meetings. And I've seen a lot of that with bookstores. There's a lot of engagement with the community. The very first silent book club meeting I went to was at a bookstore in Point Pleasant Beach called Little Point Bookshop. But I'd be curious to see if Asbury Book Cooperative ever dipped into either letting the silent book club hold a meeting at their place, or if they decide to start their own silent book club, because there are quite a few bookstores that have done just that. Thank you for tuning into this video. I hope you check out some more videos from our channel, and for now, and as always, I encourage you to keep reading.